This is a show for grown-ups.
And they say bad words.
And they say bad words.
Say final warning.
Final warning.
Hello, and welcome to the Pod of Blunders. My name is Nate Magnuski, and I'm here with Nicolas Ronvel, game designer. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent. And the reason that we brought you on today is because we want to talk about your game, Facing the Titan. This is an excellent game, Nicolas. What can you tell us about your game?
Facing the Titan is a GM-less game. It's a kind of game I really like. It's inspired by Fiasco, Protocol games, but the main game that inspired the Facing the Titan is Swords Wizard Master. I use many things from that game into Facing the Titan, and I consider Facing the Titan as a descendant from Swords Wizard Master.
So what do you do in this game? I mean, it seems that the label tells you what you're doing, but in your own words.
In Facing the Titan, you play a company of heroes, bigger than life heroes. And your goal is to destroy a massive Titan. There are 16 of them in the game. Each one is in its own settings. And you play your heroes from scratch. You don't create a character, it's all emergent into the game.
So this borrows really heavily from mythology and folklore.
My mythology, some yes, but I have very various influences from the Titan. I didn't design all the Titans. Mm-hmm. Some guests have made some of them, but I use also kaiju movies as inspirations. I've got one of the Titan with just the wall, very inspired by the Great Wall from Game of Thrones. There is some Titans who may be linked to some mythology, but they are not the Titans from the Greek mythology. It's not that kind of Titans. It's Titan from the Titanic world. So
it's more inspired by our pop culture, our more familiar sense of Titans. You know, your Godzilla, your Mothra, like you said, the Wall from Game of Thrones, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's in the game there are 6. I call them the basic Titans, which I designed for my playtest. They are the first 6 I designed, and then the crowdfunding campaign allowed me to get more Titans on the book, some by guests, and if I have to present the 6, they all can be resumed in one phrase. They are the living mountain, the magic jellyfish, the judge, the angelic judge, the beast, just a giant cow, and the rusty knight, which is in my mind when the 2 times I played it in playtest, I didn't have the illustrations right then. And it was Omega Prime who fry some cables. And the last one, it's just the Kraken.
So this might be asking you to pick which of your children is your favorite, but which one of these Titans that you created is your favorite one?
From the one I created?
Yes.
From the one I created, the one I'm most proud of is Jahadu, the magic jellyfish. I really like the setting I wrote with it, which is a magic heavy setting, something I'm not really used to. The universe I created when I GM'd Dungeons and Dragons or things like that are really grim with low magic. It's my fiction, the fiction I like is like that, but I wanted to go magic heavy on this one, and I really like what I done.
That's one of the really fascinating things I saw about this game is that when you do this one shot, when you pick your Titan, it comes with its own world. It's not that you're porting this monster into your own setting or anything. It has its own world that it's living in, and you're characters have to be in that world as well.
Yes, the first versions of the game, I just had a list of 10 questions who normally should have helped create a setting. What is the level of magic? What is the technology age? Are there any races other than humans? Is this more a setting with lands, with sea, with mountains, things like that? It didn't work at all.
Okay.
It was a fiasco. But playtests are there for this. So I tried something else. I was in like a hobby. I was designing maps. I tried to bring each Titan a map, but the map was too constraining. Playtest revealed that too. So I just went with a setting which is just one-page description, and then a list of things, locations, factions, and events. You grab some elements in each list and you go with it.
So this game is designed for one-shots. It's not meant for longer campaigns. My whole worry with one-shot games, and I play a ton of them on the podcast, is that you don't get that replay value. But this game doesn't have that problem whatsoever because of how many things, like how many of the Titans the base game comes with, the different settings, technology levels. I mean, it's a specific game and it tells a specific type of story, but it doesn't seem to be hindered by any kind of other barriers to explore. It's just so cool. I want to keep gushing about your game, but I should let you talk. I'm sorry.
Yes, thanks. When I designed the Titans, I didn't want to put them all in one big setting, because when you tell the story of a Titan, you also tell the story of the setting. Because I wrote the game to get the Titan a central piece into the setting. And its death or its disappearance, it's central to what will happen with the setting. So a campaign where you get Titan 1, then Titan 2, then Titan 3 wouldn't work. So I wrote each Titan, each setting with the idea to get something very different in each. I hope I managed that. And I was influenced by games like Fiasco, which I play a lot. And Fiasco has always the same structure of a game. It's always the same type of story with low criminals, which have bigger plans but will fail in the end. But each time I play with a new setting in Fiasco, and even sometimes with the same settings, some settings I replay a lot, you play a different story and new things happen all the time. And that's what I wanted also with Facing the Titan, that each Titan will bring something special to the table and a new type of story. And the playtest during the design phase were clearly showing me that. I played some Titans 2-3 times and never got the same type of story.
That's wonderful. I mean, that means you hit your design goal, which is always a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So with this game being based on Swords Without Master, there's a certain ritual to it. There's a certain order that things happen, certain scenes that have to happen. Can you walk us through that?
Yes, the game is very structured in the story that is told. There are 5 phases in the game. The first one is the companions phase, where we learn who are the companions, the character we are playing. Then we move to the Titan phase, which is out of time phase. We forgot the companions and we focus on the Titan and we describe what is the Titan, what does he do, what influence he has on the world. Then we go back to the companions, and the companions are gathering near the Titan, and they talk about the journey they had, what they saw in the world, then what they have prepared for the ongoing battle, which is the 4th phase, the preparation phase, and then there is the clash phase where the battle issues. And there is a special thing in this phase. It's one of the player will lose his companion, and that player takes the role of the Titan.
Wow. I always find it interesting when games have that very heavy structure, because you would imagine that it constrains the players, to have to navigate this very ritualistic process through the game. But I feel like those constraints actually free you so much to focus on the details. And because you have to focus on those details, you have a much more evocative story at the end.
That's what I wanted to do. I play a lot of narrative games, story games, which often give structure to the story. Like games like Dungeons and Dragons or Warhammer, or I don't know, the classic games. They offer something different. You have a character. Here is the setting, and you can do whatever you want in it. But there is not a very structure for the story we told. But it's also related to campaign game. When you play in a campaign, you roll. When you play a one-shot game, and that's something I learned with Fiasco, with Sword Wizard Master, which is one-shot heavy. There is a start, there is an end, and there is a path to it. And I wanted to get that to have really a start to the story, like a movie, an epilogue, credit scene, and while I was thinking about how to tell that, I get those phases, and I tried them, and it worked. Let's go.
Excellent. So this game is GM-less. How does it benefit from being a GM-less game, and why not have that judge sitting over everything and controlling?
At first, it had a judge. I tried it, and it was boring. It was a boring role. You played the Titan, the environment, but as you don't prepare anything, you just hear a reaction. You don't have many action to do, and the story is not about the Titan. It's about the companion and journey to the fight against the Titan. And playing that role of just playing the Titan, the environment, was not interesting. And I wanted for everyone at the table to be enjoy having a good night, a good play. So I tried it GM-less. I've got a big experience in GM-less games. So I put that into the design, and it worked well. I played one time with a GM role, and that was all. But the last fight, the clash, I needed to have that counterpart, someone to play the Titan. I didn't want to get an artificial intelligence to be played against. So I tweak the GM-less game to put someone into the role of the Titan. But he has no more power than the other character, other player. He's just playing something else.
It's a fascinating balance to strike. To have, you're one of them. Now you have to go on the other side of this and be the power that you're sent to slay. It's really fun to play with those roles. So you are. This is not the only game you've designed. What's some other games that you've designed?
One of the first complete game I designed was something called Gangs of Mutants of New York, which is a one-page game with a one-page extension to play teenage. I've got the title in French, but TMNT, Teenage Mutant
Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles, yes. We call them just Turtle Ninjas in French.
That's better.
So I designed this game due to two influences. First, it was when I discovered the Grant Howitt one-page games.
Yep.
And also in France, Melville, who designed the two Titans in the game, was running in various conventions a workshop about creating a one-page game. and I was intrigued by this format. I tried it, and also I was reading TMNT comics at the time. So I wrote a game to play this. It's fun for very short games. I played it in convention, 1 hour games. You create your character, you have fun for 1 hour, and you go back at home with your game, because I let the players go with the pages. That's the very first game I designed. Then I made 2 descended from the Queen game. One which is work in progress. It's a case that will make the headlines, where we play journalists. And the other, which is almost complete, which is Final Lap, where we play racers in a very dangerous race. And one of the games I'm really proud of, and I'm working right now on it to get it a more complete form, is After the Accident, a solo game, but the full random card game, and I tweaked it.
Yeah, I'm excited about that, and I can't wait to play the Mutants game. That's that's right up my alley. I'm a kid of the '80s. You know, I remember playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all the time, getting the comics. I mean, it's like you're writing a game for me, and I appreciate that. So people I don't think, appreciate the French RPG scene as much as they need to, because there's a lot of amazing French designers out there, and
Yes.
their works are available in English. It's not like that's a barrier either. You know, we've played Sonia and Conan versus the Ninjas on our podcast from Guillaume Jonté, and we had a blast with that. We're going to be playing Melville's, what was the road trip game that he has that I can't think of?
The 4 Colors of Friendship.
Yes, as soon as we can actually get together and play again, because everything. I desperately want to play that. What are some other games that people need to be aware of that they might not be?
Well, as you said, there is some barrier, because we have a kind of a strange situation in France. We're a large country, and we have a good RPG audience. So French designer wrote in French, and that stay in French. So the games never really quit France, Quebec, or other French-speaking countries. The one you talked about by Melville and Guillaume Janté are the ones that are translated, but there are not many more. I can cite Kellen, who wrote Godsend hack from, I don't know, a PBTA about Legacy, the Legacy PBTA game.
Oh, right, yeah.
He
wrote, the Ruins. Yeah.
Yes, he wrote Godsend hack from it, which is published in English. And Kellen is, in my mind, one of the best game designer in France. He wrote Dune PBTA. It's not official Dune. It's called Dominion, but it's he really mastered the PBTA vibe, and it's a hell of a game. And he also wrote other game. He wrote Forge in the Dark hack of spies, for playing spies, like Homeland TV show, for example. He also writes a hack of the protocol games for playing Monster Hearts, but GM-less and just by drawing cards.
Oh, wow.
And by other great game designer, I don't know. We have that's you tell the Melville, which is one of the one I follow too. And we have great publishers in France, big publishers who published games which are only French, like Meute, a game about wolfmen, but really designed about French wild side. You play in French parks right now with your pack of wolves. L'Empire des Cerisiers, it's an empire of cherry trees, which is a one-man made game. The author, which is Sanfilippo, wrote the game and also illustrated it. It's a gorgeous piece about Japanese folklore. And we have also LG, Le Grumpf, but it also goes by LG, who translates many OSR games and also write many games in very diverse tones, cyberpunk, medieval fantastic, sword and sorcery, and I forgot one, which is also very important in my game design approach, but not but the system, but about how he transmits his game. It's Johan Scipion, who is a one game man. He wrote one game, which is sombre. It's an adjective for dark, and it's about playing victims in a horror movie.
So it reminds me of the game Slasher Flick or The Final Girl, if you've played any of those.
Yes, but this game about Johan is his main activity. He ran conventions when COVID was not here, and played a lot of games. Some of the scenarios he gave in this book have been playtested like 100 times.
Wow!
And he wrote a zine, which is published twice a year and available in physical form. And there are the rules, scenarios, but also playtest material, playtest reports, with very making of approach to how we create this game. And that's what I learned from him. How he playtest, what he takes, what he give up, sort of thing. So really interesting to read as a game designer.
Sounds fascinating. Before I let you go for the day, I just want to ask you, is there anything you wish our audience knew or we haven't talked about yet that you want to discuss?
Yes, I think it's really good to maybe push some French designer to put their game in other languages. It's something I really liked those past 2 years. I discovered itch.io and I discovered games from all over the world. I read English easily, and it's really good to get bits from all over the world to see how people approach roleplay, because not everyone speaks English fluently, and it's something. And I tried sometimes about some games to say to French designers, translate it, put it on itch.io, and see what other people than just the French scene will say about it. And if you learn about a game which the theme or the illustrations seems appealing to you, give them a little push. Tell them, hey, get it in English or get it. It's I think it will be good to offer some of the things we have in English. And I also try to do my part, and sometimes I translate games that are written in English in French to help people get French people to learn about new type of games, new game designers. It's a good thing to get people to not be centered about a unique way.
I agree. I mean, whenever we can take away that language barrier, whenever we can open up and get more experience and exposure, I think we're better off for it as an industry and a hobby.
Yes, I'm totally with you on that. And not every country has the same RPG history. The bestsellers, the games which are the open door for getting into the hobby, and it's interesting to see how it develops from that history. The RPG in Japan has not started in the same way as in America or in France or in UK or in Thailand or in Philippines. It's opening to the world is always a good thing.
I was speaking to a person the other day. I was interviewing a creator, and they had they were an American designer, but they hadn't come in through D&D, which almost every American game designer has played D&D as their first thing. They came in through the LARP scene.
Yeah.
And so the games they were designing were like wild, and they had no constraints. They had no like combat first and foremost. They were just able to be so much more expressive and explore such beautiful, deep, and strange concepts in their games that you just don't see from many people anyway, who come in through the D&D lens. So we need more designers with narrative focus.
Yes, I totally agree on that.
Nicolas, thank you so much for coming on our show today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for welcoming me, and I hope I'll be understood with my French accent by your listener.
I think you did perfectly well. I'll tell you what, if I ever try to speak French on a podcast of yours, then they'll have a worse time at it. I promise you.
Okay.
So, all right. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Nicolas for coming on our show and telling us all about his games. My co-host Richard and a special guest played Facing the Titan last night, and we had an absolute blast. That episode will come out next week, so if you're interested in seeing how that game works in real time, well, sort of real time, check that out. I think we did a pretty good job, and I love the story we ended up telling. If you want to get that game for yourself, follow the link in the show notes to Nicolas' itch.io page. As always, I want to give a special thank you to our patrons who support us every month. Without you, we couldn't do this show. We couldn't get some of the guests we have on. We couldn't get the games we play. You guys make it all possible, and I really appreciate you. If you're listening and are not yet a patron, please consider going to patreon.com/potofblunders. The link's in the show notes. You get all kinds of benefits, a bonus podcast, copies of any game that I make. There's 2 on there right now that you can get as soon as you sign up. And most importantly, the warm, fuzzy feeling that you did something good. Aww. And if that's not in the cards, if you wouldn't mind going to your podcatcher of choice and leaving a 5-star review, that will help us reach a wider audience and bring even more attention to deserving indie creators like Nicolas. And if you can't do that, well, just thank you for listening. We still appreciate you, and we hope you come back next week. For the Pot of Blunders, I've been Nate Magnuski, and as always, may all your Ds be 12s.